Welcome back to our channel. If you love true, emotional, and heart-touching stories that remind us about the power of love, kindness, and mystery, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the stories that move your heart and open your mind. Now, let's begin today's story, one that left an entire wedding in shock and silence. It all started on a bright Saturday afternoon in a small countryside town. The sky was clear, the birds were singing, and the air was filled with laughter and joy. It was a day of celebration, a wedding between two young souls deeply in love. The bride, Emily, was radiant in her white dress, her smile brighter than the morning sun. The groom, Daniel, couldn't take his eyes off her. Everything seemed perfect. The flowers, the guests, the music, the decor, it was the kind of wedding people dream about their whole lives. But none of them knew that before the day was over, something completely unexpected would happen, something that would leave everyone speechless and in tears. As the guests gathered in the garden where the ceremony was about to take place, the pastor stood ready, and the music began to play. The couple exchanged their vows, their voices trembling with emotion. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Just as the pastor said, "You may now kiss the bride," and the guests erupted into applause, a faint cry could be heard from a distance. At first, no one paid attention. It sounded like a baby's cry, soft, almost distant, but growing louder by the second. People turned their heads, curious, wondering where the sound was coming from. Then, from behind the row of white chairs, a small figure appeared. It was a boy, no older than 9. His hair was messy, his clothes slightly dirty, and in his arms, he was holding a newborn baby wrapped in a faded blue blanket. The music stopped, the laughter stopped, even the birds seemed to stop singing. All eyes turned toward the boy as he slowly walked down the aisle, not running, not scared, but calm. His small face showed no fear, only determination. The guests began to whisper among themselves. Who was he? Where were his parents? And why was he carrying a baby? Emily, the bride, froze. Her eyes widened, and her hand trembled slightly as she gripped her bouquet. Daniel, confused, looked at her and then back at the boy. The boy stopped just a few feet away from them and said in a quiet but steady voice, "Are you Emily?" Everyone could hear his words. His voice was small, yet it echoed through the garden like a thunderclap. Emily nodded slowly, unsure of what was happening. "Yes, I'm Emily," she said softly. The boy looked down at the baby in his arms, then back up at her. "This baby," he said, "belongs to you." A wave of gasps spread through the crowd. Someone dropped their drink. Someone else whispered, "What is he talking about?" Emily took a step back, her heart racing. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. The boy walked closer and gently held out the baby. "She told me to bring him to you," he said. Before she went to heaven." Emily's bouquet fell from her hands. The petals scattered across the floor like tears. Daniel stepped forward, his face pale. "Who told you to bring the baby?" he asked. The boy looked up, his eyes glistening with tears. "My mom," he whispered. There was a silence so heavy, you could hear the sound of the wind brushing through the trees. The pastor slowly approached the boy, his voice kind but cautious. "Son, what's your name?" "Eli," the boy replied. "My name is Eli. And your mother," the pastor continued gently, "what's her name?" The boy's lip trembled. Her name was Sarah. At the mention of that name, Emily's knees almost gave out. Daniel caught her just in time. Sarah. That name hit her like a lightning strike. It was the name of her best friend, the one she had lost contact with years ago after a terrible accident. Tears began to fill Emily's eyes. "Sarah," she repeated, almost in disbelief. "Sarah from St. Mary's Orphanage." Eli nodded. "Yes. She said you were her best friend. She told me that when she couldn't take care of the baby anymore, I had to find you. She said you would know what to do." Everyone stood frozen. Even the photographers stopped taking pictures. Emily's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. "But, I thought she died years ago," she whispered. The boy nodded again, tears now streaming down his cheeks. "She did. 2 weeks ago. She got very sick. She told me she didn't have much time left. She said I had to be brave and bring the baby to you because you were the only one she could trust." Emily covered her mouth as tears rolled down her face. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The crowd stood in silence, watching the emotional scene unfold. Eli continued, his small voice breaking. "She said the baby's name is Noah. And she said you're his real family." Emily took a step forward, trembling. "His real family," she repeated. Eli nodded. "She told me that before she got sick, she found out something she'd never told anyone. That the baby's father was Daniel." A collective gasp swept through the guests. Daniel froze, his eyes wide in shock. "What?" he stammered. "That can't be true." But Emily didn't respond. She was staring at the baby, tiny, peaceful, innocent, and suddenly, she remembered. Before Daniel met her, before they fell in love, he had dated someone briefly. He had never said much about her, only that it didn't work out. He didn't even remember her last name. And now, standing before them, was the child of that woman, and Daniel's. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes as the truth hit him like a wave. He looked at the boy, then at Emily. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear I didn't know." The guests whispered in disbelief, their emotions torn between sympathy and shock. Eli stepped closer to Emily and gently placed the baby in her arms. "Please," he said softly, "she said you would take care of him." Emily held the baby tightly, tears falling freely down her cheeks. She looked at the child's tiny face, and for the first time, she didn't see betrayal or heartbreak. She saw innocence. She saw life. After a long moment of silence, she looked at Daniel. "He didn't choose this," she whispered. "He's just a baby." Daniel nodded, his voice cracking. "You're right." The pastor, who had been standing silently, finally spoke. "Perhaps this is a test. Not of love, but of forgiveness," he said gently. Emily wiped her tears and looked around at the silent guests. "We'll take care of him," she said firmly. "We'll raise him." That's what Sarah wanted. Eli broke down crying. "Thank you," he whispered. "She said if I found you, everything would be okay." Emily knelt and hugged him tightly. "You did the right thing, Eli," she said through her tears. "Your mom would be so proud of you." The guests began to cry too. What started as a joyful wedding had turned into something deeper, a reminder of how life can twist and turn in ways we can never predict. The ceremony continued, but it wasn't the same. The vows, the rings, the kiss, everything carried new meaning. It was no longer just about love between two people, but about compassion, forgiveness, and the power of connection that transcends even death. After the ceremony, the newlyweds invited Eli to stay with them. They contacted the authorities and explained the situation. It turned out that Sarah had no surviving family, just Eli and baby Noah. Emily and Daniel decided to adopt both of them. Months passed. The once strange wedding crash had become a beautiful beginning. Emily and Daniel legally adopted Eli and Noah, giving them the home Sarah had always wanted for them. One evening, Emily found a letter tucked inside the blue baby blanket. It was written in Sarah's handwriting. It said, "My dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I don't know how life turned out for you, but I always knew you had a heart big enough to forgive and to love beyond limits. If you can, please give my boys a home. Tell them their mother loved them more than anything. And thank you for being the sister I never had. Love, Sarah." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she read those words. She held the letter close to her heart and whispered, "I'll keep my promise." Years later, the story became something of a legend in their small town. The wedding that was interrupted by a 9-year-old boy carrying a baby, and the secret that changed two families forever. People would often see Emily and Daniel walking through the park with Eli and Noah, smiling, laughing, happy. No one would guess how their story began, with heartbreak, but ending in hope. In one interview years later, Emily was asked what she felt that day when Eli walked into her wedding. She smiled softly and said, "At first, I thought my life was falling apart. But looking back, it was the moment my family came together." Sometimes, the biggest miracles come disguised as heartbreak. The reporter asked Eli, now a teenager, what he remembered most. He said quietly, "I remember being scared, but my mom told me to find Emily because she had the kindest heart. She was right." The audience fell silent, just like that day. And that's how a 9-year-old boy, with nothing but courage and love, changed the lives of everyone in one unforgettable moment. So, what do we learn from this story? Sometimes, destiny brings people together in ways we could never imagine. Sometimes, the end of one story is just the beginning of another. And sometimes, a child's bravery can heal wounds that even time couldn't. Life is unpredictable, but love, true, unconditional love, always finds its way. Soft emotional music swells. Thank you for watching this story till the end. If this story touched your heart, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who believes in miracles, and let us know in the comments what you felt while listening.